And welcome to The Vertical Advantage, a new podcast series from Dynamic where we break down what really happens with your old tech and what this means for you. I'm your host, Amanda Tischer-Burris, VP of OEM Solutions. At Dynamic, we help businesses recover value from their equipment, keep data secure, and give electronics their next best life. If you're tired of juggling this and you're managing IT assets, handling compliance, or running a data center, this podcast is for you. For today's kickoff episode, The Vertical Shift, we'll show you how connecting every step makes your process smoother and keeps headaches away. I'm joined by two of my colleagues, Jason Schott, VP of Recycling, who knows large-scale recycling programs and OEM partnerships inside and out, and Ashley Foreman, VP of Corporate Services. Ashley leads our ITAD practice and helps customers protect data, recover value, and simplify asset disposition. Let's get started. Starting with our first question today, we're going to kick it over to Jason. So Jason, from a recycling perspective, where do you see those challenges show up most?
The technology stream is really diverse. It brings a lot of different products into our stream. So things from cell phones that contain batteries to televisions that may have mercury bulbs in them and everything in between. So I think really managing the diversity in products as well as the individual customer needs or OEM needs to see all of those products through the supply chain. And every one of them may have different interests as far as what they'd like to see back, whether it's through value or through compliance. So I think creating solutions that really meet all of those needs can be complex and require a lot of different approaches.
Thanks, Jason. And Ashley, how does that compare to what ITAD leaders are up against?
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. From the ITAD side, we share one underlying root cause, and that would be complexity. ITAD leaders are under constant pressure to balance data security, chain of custody, value recovery, and in addition, they have to meet strict compliance and ESG goals. Many of the customers that we work with talk about the challenges of managing multiple partners for logistics, resale, recycling, which can create a lot of risk. Introduction of all of those different vendors, the handoff between each introduces a potential gap in data tracking, documentation, and that's where things can really unravel. So for our ITAD leaders, they're really looking more towards integrated solutions because at the end of the day, they need visibility, accountability, and confidence that nothing is falling through the cracks.
Great. So let's talk about defining the advantage of vertical integration a little bit. Vertical integration can sound like jargon, so let's break it down for our listeners. Ashley, I think you started to touch on this, but when speaking with ITAD leaders, how do you describe what vertical integration really looks like in practice?
So I describe it as having complete visibility and control over every step of the asset's life cycle. So that includes from pickup to final processing. So at Dynamic, what that means for us is that we own and manage the entire chain. So logistics, secure data destruction, resale, recycling, and reporting. So our customers get that all within one connected system, guided by one set of standards and one accountability model. So that level of integration really strengthens the chain of custody and data security, which I've mentioned a couple times, and we'll continue to score the importance of that. But it's also going to drive tangible results. So reduced carbon emissions, better ROI, better brand protection, because through the integrated model that we have here at Dynamic, we can harvest parts or materials from non-resale assets in-house to maximize value and minimize environmental impact while ensuring that we're finding the next best life for all whole unit material that has resale value. So for customers, it's simpler, it's more secure, there's less risk, stronger compliance, measurable value back, all within a single certified auditable ecosystem.
Excellent. Thank you. Jason, anything to add? What does that mean for recycling programs or OEMs that are managing extended producer responsibility?
The number of programs that exist for EPR for the electronics management across the United States can really vary from state to state and program to program. So having the capability of managing that even on the front side from a reporting standpoint, and then working that through the needs of each individual program, whether it's from different collection points or through the supply chain, picking the material up, getting it back to the facility, and then the diversity of products that are covered in there, how do those actually get processed? So that shows up for Dynamic in a way that we have an OEM program compliance group that can administer all the regulatory things and set up all of the programs that are required for manufacturers to be compliant, to be able to sell products into those states. And then once those programs are set up, we have the ability to facilitate and actually execute on those in-house. So whether it's our logistics fleet picking the material up, getting it back to Dynamic, and then working it through all of the different production cells to manage all of the different types of products that we may get in. Some of those products require management of more toxic or hazardous materials, so it could get processed in a more manual way to isolate those materials and be able to make sure those go to the right places. Other things may be able to be processed in a more efficient way from a value recovery standpoint through automated shredding technologies. Once those are done, we have an in-house outbound department that works very close with our compliance department. So we're able to make sure that each one of those materials are managed to end markets in a safe and environmentally responsible way. And having that in-house allows us then to make sure that we're getting the most value for those materials, and then make sure that they're also flowing in a compliant fashion to make sure that we've really protected the risk and the brand for our customers.
Excellent. That's a great segue into kind of our next point here, is really about kind of how Dynamic does it differently. So a lot of companies out there use multiple partners for logistics, compliance, resale, recycling. It's a lot of vendors to manage. Dynamic does it different. We are one partner and one process. So Jason, can you help paint a picture of how that difference plays out for our recycling customers?
So I think for Dynamic, it really allows us to differentiate in a way that we can manage the diversity in all of those different products. So a lot of other recyclers in the market may only focus on one or two items, meaning they have to be dependent on others to be able to process the rest of that whole package of electronics that come in through those streams. So having that managed all under one roof allows the supply chain then to be managed centrally. What that does then is it allows you to control more of where those materials are going and ensure that they're going to a right place, and then also leverage from a value perspective the commodities and the products that are coming in to be able to return that value back to our customers.
Ashley, what does one partner, one process mean for ITAD customers concerned about security and compliance?
So for ITAD customers, security and compliance are some of their greatest concerns. So for those customers, one partner, one process, fewer handoffs, fewer vulnerabilities, and full accountability. So they're not just sending their devices to a vendor for logistics, another for data destruction, and a third for resale. With Dynamic, it's all handled within a closed loop, tracked, verified, and reported on real-time process. So what that means is that from the moment your devices are picked up and they leave your facility, they're going to be managed under our certifications. They're going to arrive at our facility, go through the process of being serialized tracked. We are going to provide certificates of destruction and that serialized tracking report back to our clients, and then all the way through full disposition. And then there'll be statements that are provided to our customers showcasing what happened to those assets at the end of their life, whether they go through resale disposition, parts harvesting, or they go through our materials commodity and recovery process. It never leaves our certified chain of custody. It's protected, the data is protected, compliance is ensured, and peace of mind is delivered back to our customers.
Thank you. So at the end of the day, customers want outcomes. Let's talk about the biggest advantages. From the ITAD side, Ashley, what do your customers value most about our vertically integrated model?
At the end of the day, they value the trust and transparency. So essentially being able to see everything in one place. I've touched on serialized tracking. I've touched on our certificates of destruction, resale reporting. ESG metrics is also a great benefit to them, but it's all integrated. It's all auditable. And they love the simplicity. They have one partner to hold accountable. That saves them time, reduces complexity, and gives them confidence that every asset is handled securely and sustainably. And lastly, too, because integration eliminates duplication, they often see better financial returns and stronger compliance and ESG performance, which are also huge benefits that our customers see from our vertically integrated model.
And Jason, when we talk about recycling partners and OEM recycling managers, what benefits rise to the top for those customers?
Would say definitely starting out of the gates, compliance has to be number one. So when you're looking at legislative programs, the minimum is being compliant, and anything less than that could risk your brand. It could risk your ability to sell your products. So at a minimum, that's the starting point. So really working with somebody that understands what each one of those individual laws require, and being able to meet the objectives of those in a way that satisfies the customer. That's number one. Number two is the program efficiencies. How do we make it easy to be able to work across such complex different programs that we have with all of the materials and all the things that are required to make the program successful? So our team works really hard at staying current with those and trying to put solutions together that make it as least impactful from a challenge perspective for our customers. And then I would say the third one is value return. So how can you work with a partner that can handle the diversity in all the different products and the challenges of all the different programs in a way that we can do it more efficiently than others? So we look to work across all of the different technology that we have to process materials. We develop some of the most robust end markets through the supply chain, and then leverage the volume that we have with those supply chains to be able to get the most value back and return that to our customers.
Perfect. Thank you. Sometimes the clearest way to show value can be through a story. So, Jason, do you have a real world example where integration helped a recycling customer simplify operations or potentially reduce risk?
Yeah, really kind of just pulling everything together that we've been talking about. So we work with some of the largest OEMs in the world, and what we do is we build out programs across many, if not most, if not all, of the states that have those EPR laws that require the manufacturers to participate in the recycling of their products to meet the objectives of getting all of those materials diverted from landfill and into the recycling supply chain. So building those out through a patchwork of different laws, ensuring compliance, those are tough. It's hard to stay current with those. So we've got a team that's dedicated to making sure that every time a law is changed or iterated, we're staying current with that. We're working with the regulatory bodies in each state to ensure that we have compliance and our networks have compliance from the way materials are brought in, processed, and then flow out to our downstream partners. And that's really that physical flow of that, and then being able to test and vet and audit those supply chains. So we have a team that actually goes through. We audit our downstreams to make sure that they're processing the materials the way that they should be. Those materials are then going where they should be, and we have mechanisms in place such as trackers to make sure that when those materials are flowing, that they're doing what they say they're doing, which is a way of protecting our customers as well as ourselves. I think those are all important pieces in building out those programs.
Ashley, how about one from ITAD? Maybe an example, a real world example where integration helped secure compliance or capture more value for a customer.
Yeah, so we had a Fortune 500 customer that came to us who is experiencing the challenges of exactly what we're talking about. They were managing ITAD through multiple vendors, and by doing so, they were facing data security gaps, inconsistent reporting, and lost value in resale. So they decided their approach to switching vendors was to find somebody who could consolidate everything under one model, and they chose to go with Dynamic. We were able to close those gaps for them. So through our asset tracking process, our secure reporting, certificates of destruction, having that all managed through our customer portal, they were able to get the confidence just through the reporting process that we were going to provide them with the transparency that they expected by using one vendor. But then also the process flow was what really sold them. So everything being processed in our own facilities. So from resale ready devices being remarketed through our vetted channels, and then non-resale equipment being harvested and responsibly recycled within our four walls. So that was the value proposition that they were able to feel, experience, and the result of that was a 40% increase in recovery value. So not only were they able to have complete regulatory compliance and total confidence in their data security process, but they were able to improve their bottom line by going with Dynamic and using our fully vertically integrated model.
Great, thank you. So, wanting to shed a little bit more light onto Dynamic and Dynamics processes. So, Dynamic does a lot more than just recycling. Over the last 2 decades, we've spent a lot of time building multiple channels for value recovery and have heavily invested in our logistics capabilities. Ashley, how do resale, wholesale, and parts harvesting create new value streams for ITAD customers, and how does Dynamic play a role in that?
So value recovery is where the integrated model really proves itself. So because we can manage both logistics and processing, we can quickly determine the best disposition path for every asset. And then we have robust channels for how we sell assets, whether that's resale, parts harvesting, or through our responsible recycling model. So our resale channels, which is what I can speak to the most because that's the side that we focus on the ITAD side and where our customers really find a lot of value, is through our resale channels for whole unit devices. So we have channels including e-commerce and wholesale. So e-commerce using platforms like Amazon, eBay, Newegg, and then different wholesale markets to drive maximum return for high quality assets. But we ensure nothing goes to waste, so nothing will get landfilled. We also have in-house parts recovery. So if there's a device that maybe the whole unit isn't deemed eligible for resale, but there's different parts that have value, we'll recover those parts in order to be able to provide value in that way back to our clients. So because it all happens under one roof, we can guarantee secure handling, data integrity, and environmental compliance at every stage. And that turns what used to be a fragmented process into a complete value life cycle. And at the end of the day, increasing bottom line return for our customers.
Thank you. Yeah, Jason, Ashley touched on some different areas where our recycling division is able to add additional value back to our customers. So, how do scrap channels, smelter relationships, and precious metal recovery give recycling customers confidence that they're maximizing their value? And a two-parter, can you also speak a little bit to how in-house logistics capabilities support that structure as well?
Yeah, great question. So I think you were scratching at that a little bit earlier with some of our experience. So Dynamic, almost being 2 decades now in the industry, we've dealt with some of the precious metal bearing stuff for a long time. We've dealt with the electronic scrap and commodities that are produced through the production processes for a long time. So not only do we support a lot of customers in the industry with managing their materials, it's the same materials that we produce in house. So by doing that, we're able to leverage larger volumes and work directly with the processors that are really focused in those niche areas that allow for the best recovery depending on the materials. Secrets inside of the industry when you start talking about the types of materials that you're dealing with, not everybody is able to handle the different types of material the same. And where that could show up is being able to recover precious metals really depends on their capabilities, and their capabilities really depend on what they focus on and where they're good at. So where that sweet spot is. So things like cell phones and laptops and memory processors, really high in gold content. There's a few processors that are really good that specialize in those kind of recoveries. And then there's some on the other end of that spectrum that could have very low precious metals in them. And that could look like the boards that come out of some of the flat panel TVs or lower end electronics. Knowing where to send those and companies that focus and specialize in the recovery of those precious metals really can make a big difference in the return of the overall value. As we've gotten further down the supply chain and the automation that we've invested in from a processing standpoint, we've been able to get cleaner and cleaner channels with our aluminum and our steel and other products that are generated from these electronics. That allows us to go more direct in the supply chain to be able to recover more value. That value is then returned to our customers. So having that experience allows us to know where to go, where not to go, and then also what are those standards from the minimums from a quality standpoint to be able to get into those different places. So I think that is a big key in being able to return that value on the end of life side. And then from a logistics standpoint, we're an asset based, so that means that we own our own trucks and our own trailers, as well as a brokerage based logistics company as well to support all of our operations. So the ways that show up that are maybe more in the non-traditional sense that you may not think of as a customer working with Dynamic is when we receive a load from you, we could bring that in on our equipment. And then when we ship loads out, we could take that out on our equipment. We're also what's called for hire. So we can work with other entities that need freight delivered. That can get our trucks in the places they need to be and cover the cost to get the trucks there so those costs aren't borne by our customers. That's a little bit unique in the industry, having that for hire and having trucks that are able to be in those locations, because then that really allows us to provide, from a compliance standpoint and chain of custody standpoint, a dynamic driver that's been certified and vetted to that standard to be able to pick up on a dynamic truck the material and then bring it back to the facility from a chain of custody where it's really taken under our wing as a dynamic umbrella and then managed through that entire supply chain in a way that we could do that with our truck and with our driver, depending on what those needs are from our customer. That can be a very valuable solution that we can provide.
So this episode sets the stage for the Vertical Advantage series that we're going to be launching. Ashley, what can ITAD leaders expect in coming episodes?
ITAD leaders can expect a practical, real-world series that dives into how vertical integration strengthens every stage of the process. So from secure logistics and compliance to resale optimization, recycling, reporting, and ESG performance. Each episode's going to deliver real insights, not fluff, with actionable takeaways to help leaders simplify their operations, reduce risk, and drive stronger returns while understanding an integrated approach. So it's about building smarter, more resilient programs that deliver both peace of mind and measurable impact.
And Jason, what will recycling managers find most valuable as we go deeper into logistics, compliance, reuse, resale, and ESG?
Yeah, I would really say the devil's in the detail. So learning more about the questions that should be asked and why. The industry is very complex and is operated in many different ways. So it's almost like what you don't know that the questions are that you should be asking. So getting into that, you're going to learn more about what those things are. That's going to help you manage your business, manage your risk, and also ensure that you're getting the best value for the services and solutions that are needed. So understanding how those materials flow through the process, how risk is managed, and then how value differentiation happens. Those are exciting things.
And if we had to boil today's conversation down to one key point, Ashley, what would be the single most important thing that you would want to leave for ITAD leaders?
There's one takeaway. It's that vertical integration is the smartest and most effective way for ITAD leaders to reduce risk while maximizing value. So it's the right way forward for ITAD leaders who want confidence, consistency, and measurable results.
And Jason, what's the key takeaway for recycling leaders that you'd like to leave with them today?
Yeah, we talked a lot about the benefits that some working with a vendor that is vertically integrated can bring to the table. Asking those questions, how that value is recovered, how that compliance can be managed, and then how it can just be made easy. That's really questions that all customers should be asking their vendors. And I think if nothing else, taking that away from today will make sure that you're working with the best vendor to make the best programs to make it as simple as possible.
Jason, Ashley, thank you both for your insights today. If you are listening and wondering what's coming next, please stay tuned. This is just the beginning of Inside the Vertical Advantage with Dynamic. Each conversation is going to bring real-world perspectives and how integration creates confidence, reduces risk, and delivers stronger outcomes for your organization. I'm Amanda Burris, and thank you for joining us on this first step of our journey. We'll see you again next time.